There are some fates you might consider to be worse than death. Ones that are so awful that you wouldn't wish it on even some of the worst people around. Unfortunately for the Witcher Kian, he was among those who was dealt such a fate. As a young boy, Kian underwent mutations to become a Witcher of the School of the Cat. Compared to the other Witcher schools, cat mutations are a bit different, which results in a lot of the cat school Witchers being less empathetic than other Witchers. They also seem to have no problem with mercenary work, to kill others in exchange for coin. Kian had been given a contract by a man named Prince Adrian of the Sea Cats, a man of nobility that lived in Drahim Castle, just south of Nilfgaard. He wanted him to go with a group of researchers and academics to the ruins of Estayar to uncover elven treasures. Specifically, they were after the legendary elven treasure of an elven king named Maglor. Kian was supposed to accompany the researchers and archaeologists as a guard to protect them from any hidden dangers. But as the days passed, they became more and more suspicious of him. They had heard some rumors, unsettling ones, about Prince Adrian, which made them distrust Kian even more. And their fears were well founded. Kian had been given some other instructions besides being a guard. Adrian wanted him to collect all the notes that the researchers found in the elven ruins, so that he could have them for himself. At first, Kian simply demanded the notes of the researchers, but around day 6, things got more bloody. He slit one of the researchers' throats while he was deciphering some notes. He then killed the others, one by one. None of them would leave the elven ruins alive, as the last member of the group, Professor Sigismund Glogger, entered an unstable portal into a closed room where he would perish over time. Kian took the elven notes he had collected, along with the heads of the researchers he had killed, which he preserved in jars of vinegar, to Prince Adrian, who had contracted him to kill them. Kian didn't have to bring the heads in jars, but there was probably a bit of the cat school madness leaking through. As he returned to Drahim Castle, Kian gave a few notes to the prince, and kept a few himself, as per their agreement. The prince wanted Kian to become his personal bodyguard, promising him a life of luxury, but Kian rejected him, took his diagrams and left. For he had already accepted another contract, to be a guard on a ship. But little did Kian know that his life would soon become a living hell. The guard position on a ship was set up by a mage named Irenaeus Varsteingard, who was out to kidnap Kian to experiment on him. Irenaeus was out to create a being that one would describe as death incarnate. He wanted to trap a demon inside the body of a witcher, to create a being so powerful that would make him as respected a sorcerer as Elzur and Cosimo. But first, he had to kidnap the witcher. Over the course of a few days, the mage kept observing Kian to try and learn more about him. He was specifically interested in Kian due to the fact that he was a witcher from the cat school, a school which Irenaeus believed to have had elven origins. He had a plan all worked out to carefully kidnap Kian, which included casting a spell that over the course of an hour and a half would slowly break down the defenses Kian had against psionic spells. Once that was all done, and Kian was ready for transport, he sought a way to clear his tracks, and summoned a large storm which wrecked the ship they were sailing on, whilst the mage teleported Kian and himself to his laboratory, in the elven ruins underneath the temple wall. Here, things became worse and worse for Kian, as the mage and his assistants started to test his body. They drugged him, tortured him for days until he broke. He was interrogated about the School of the Cat, and was served more poisons to test his body. They gave him strengthened versions of toxins from sea wasps, gave him concoctions that would kill the average man, and much more. As the mage, his journal states, the subject has been tortured, poisoned, burnt, frozen, starved and dehydrated. And despite it all, his body continues to function. He eats and drinks by himself, moves about the cell on his own, and is able to articulate simple words. Please, drink, don't hurt, stop. In the mage his mind, now was the time to start the final part in his plan. To summon and bind a demon to Kian. We don't really know what happened after the mage summoned the demon into Kian, but probably nothing good. We don't know what transpired to the researchers after the binding of the demon, but we can find several skeletons around the ruins, which could have belonged to them. However, they could also have belonged to a group of treasure hunters that were killed by Kian, based on the notes that we can find in the ruins. For decades, the demon possessed the body of Kian and roamed around the ruins, killing intruders, until he faced off against Geralt of Rivia, who would finally bring an end to Kian's torment. But did Kian deserve this fate? He was a cold-blooded killer, one that would end the lives of innocents if it resulted in him getting some coin. A witcher that is a stain on the reputation of the others. But did he deserve to be tortured, poisoned, burned, frozen, and eventually broken to be possessed by a demon? What do you think? Till next video. Bye.